So, guys, I'm super honoured to have Daniel here from Dog Club SA. Right? Is that how you? Is it SA official or is it just Dog Club?
To be honest, Dog Club SA came about because I couldn't get the domain for
Oh
Dog
yeah.
Club.
Okay.
It had SA, but just Dog Club is fine.
Dog Club.
There's only one and only.
Yes. Yes. It's a unique space, guys. So just to give you some background, Daniel has a great small business here in South Australia where it's basically like a gym for dogs. Really, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to develop.
Yeah.
Yep.
It feels kind of like when you walk in, you're like, oh, is this like a Karate Kid style, like old school gym? Like, but it's full of dog equipment. It's very cool but unusual because you don't expect it. But so what inspired that? Like, how would you think? Oh, that would be a good idea.
Well, that goes kind of back to when I first got into or decided to get into dog training. Like, I didn't, I didn't just want to be a everyday pet dog trainer. I wanted to train and develop dogs for the government and learn how to do all the bite work and stuff like that. And once you start going down those paths, then it's always good to have a private facility so you can do a lot of that stuff outside of the public realm. So I just needed a space really, and I got that, and then it's just kind of created over the last 5 years. We've developed based on our needs and what we need to grow.
So what was the predominant fascination like? For example, government. I mean, I'm assuming like you're talking about military or police or firefighting, that kind of thing.
I sold my first dog to a corrections agency last year.
Cool.
So when I went professional dog trainer would have been about 5 or 6 years ago now. Yeah, I just the whole ever since I was a little kid, I had a fascination with dogs that bit.
Yeah.
Right, and I think I can remember to my earliest memory would have been I would have been at least between 6 and 8 years old, and we've always had pretty serious dogs in our family because we're in the nightclub business.
Yeah.
And my dad's always wanted to have good protection at home.
So what kind of dogs did you got with, like Rottweilers and stuff?
Yeah,
like that?
back in the 80s, 90s, we had Rotties and stuff like that. And it was time for us to find a new dog, and we lived in Queensland at the time, so we went and checked out some trained dogs, and we saw, that was the first time I saw dogs run across the field and take people out.
Really?
So, yeah, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So, got to handle one of the Rotties after, and like I think that was the earliest little spark that I had that was attracted to that. So
Quick question, like the German Shepherd versus the like Rottweiler, for example. Like, why are German Shepherds why do I see more German Shepherds as military dogs than why are Rottweilers make good military dogs?
Well, there's so many different aspects to working biting dogs, right? So like if you look at the German Shepherd is known for its versatility. So the breed was made so that it can be good as a pet, can be good for a family guardian, can be good for work. But you look at the German Shepherd is, especially with police, more about apprehension, right? So the dog has to chase and it has to bite and it has to apprehend someone. A Rottweiler, you can get sporty Rotties, so there's variances in every breed, but it's more so like a defensive guardian, right?
Yeah.
So I would look at a Rottweiler more for a personal protection or a family protection dog. I don't need to send the Rottweiler to chase the bad guy 4 city blocks before he takes him out, for example, right?
Yeah. It's like a fear factor, is it almost?
Well, it's like
you look at this little Hulk-looking thing.
Well, the Rottie's going to stay. Well, the Rottie's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, I'm pretty chill, but now you're breaching the boundary, right? And
Yeah.
I'll stay here and defend the last, right? The Malinois, the Dutch Shepherds, all that sort of stuff, they're a bit more prey orientated, which whenever you're talking about prey is about chasing, biting, killing, essentially. Not that they kill people they apprehend, but that's the predatory sequence in the animal. And then you have got very much the defensive drive of an animal, which is you're now encroaching on a space that I have to defend because you're a threat to me now. So there's 2 different drives that you use when you're dealing with bite work.
So you say your fascination with these animals, these dogs, came from like being young and witnessing it firsthand, and that kind of inspired you as you moved older, or?
Yeah, well, I think like now that I decided, and I finally 6 years ago decided to go professional and actually learn the art of dog training, and I kind of refer to it more as dogmanship or kennel mastery, right? Which is like an older way of dog training. It's not so much the new age dog trainer with the treat pouch. Like you're developing a being and an animal, and that goes to a much deeper level of art. But when I decided over the last few years, like I keep thinking back to different moments of my childhood where I felt in the moment some sort of attraction or some sort of like, oh, that's really cool. It was almost like a reinforcing or just little sparks that at the time I kind of disregarded or had no idea what it meant to me in the long run. But now that I look back, I'm like, well, really, I was really attracted to all this stuff all that time. It just took till 6 years ago for me to kind of act on it.
Okay, so this is kind of fairly new for you then. This is like,
yeah.
But you've always been inspired, but so Dog Club is 6 years old. Is that correct?
Dog Club is 5 years old.
5 years old.
Yeah.
So first year, what did that look like?
First year, well, Dog Club is 5 years old. Before I did that, I had the canine relationship coach, which was mainly home consults.
Okay.
And really, in terms of learning about dog training, it would have started in 2010.
Okay.
Right. So
It's
I
about
had
15 years.
Well, yeah, I had my first dog, who was Caesar. He was an American Pitbull, and I didn't know what I was doing with this dog, but he was psycho, right? And
was he just born like psycho, or do you think it was just like he was just like the breed itself?
I think that he was definitely born with genetics that were what they call like game bred, right? So whenever a dog is game, it means that they are willing to go the distance and they're willing to bite and do all that sort of stuff. I just didn't know how to handle that type of dog, right? I thought I was going to go get a Pitbull that was going to be my fun-loving pet, right? And I had spent, again, thousands, weeks of time, months of time using different trainers trying to get the help, and everyone kind of failed me, right? Because they didn't set my expectations up right of what dog training should be. So back in the day, you used to pay a dog trainer to come out and train your dog, but they would come and spend an hour with your dog. They didn't do anything with you. So therefore, you're kind of wasting money because all the coaching needs to come back to you how to handle that animal. So that was really 10 years of kind of as a hobby, because I ended up putting Caesar down.
Yeah. And
I was like, no, can't ever be in a situation where I make that mistake.
What was that like, that choice? Like, was there a moment you just knew and you
Yep. So after failing all these attempts of getting him help and getting me help, my human way of thinking, I was like, well, who doesn't love a puppy? So I decided to go get a puppy. And that's when I first got my German Shepherd, my first German Shepherd. Her name was Atia. And she was 8 weeks old. I had Caesar in a muzzle. He was in his crate, or the dog was, the puppy was in her pen, and he was outside the pen. Whatever, very, very secure and safe. And he was showing no interest. So I was like, okay, cool. Like every other dog that he's met, he's wanted to kill, right? And it got to the point where he was laying on the floor next to me. Didn't have his muzzle on at this time. She was sleeping on my chest, and I got a treat and went to give it to Caesar because he was doing a good boy. And she woke up and went to sniff the treat, and he latched onto her, ripped her off of my chest, started throwing her around the room. Now, she survived, and she lived 10 years, right? He basically punctured through her muzzle. And it was that day that once I finally got them separated, I went and threw him in my study.
What was that like, that moment for you? Like on a human level? Was that like, were you full of panic? Was it like, were you like, did you go in like a trance? Like, I need to like just take care of this. Did you like, what did you execute in that moment?
Huge adrenaline dump, right? And
were you expecting it at all? Like, you like, what the hell's about? Like, what is going on right now? Like, was
it
crazy?
Kind of as soon as, like, because she was sleeping. So I went to give him the treat, and he kind of put his head up to get the treat, and he was fine. And then she just woke up and looked at me, and then just went boop and sniffed the treat, and that's when it happened. So I was like up off the couch as quick as possible, and just trying to keep him secure so he's not shaking her around, throwing her around the room. I stuck my finger in his mouth. I've still got a scar on my finger from where I got sliced open that day. And I don't know what was... I was just trying to do what I did. I finally got them apart, right? And then it was a matter of just getting him in the study, so they were separated. Yeah. And then random just scooped her up and off to the vet straight away.
There was this TikTok video that went viral a few weeks ago. It was like this similar, like a Pitbull attacking this other dog. This guy's getting him.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking fingering his bum.
I know.
It worked.
It looks like that's a bit of a hobby of his, but
like he knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, whoa, but it'll work.
I mean, it worked in that situation. I wouldn't go giving people advice to do that because, like, if anything, that's going to add a bit of frustration and annoyance to the dog.
Just feel like the dog's getting molested.
Yeah, well.
and then getting attacked. I'm like, oh my god.
Yes.
But I heard this is what I heard on the rumor mill, because I was reading for the comments. It's like, oh no, you're supposed to grab the ears and twist if it's a murder situation.
Yeah, no, that's all bullshit.
No, that's all bullshit.
So if you are in a situation where you ever need to get a dog off another dog, the most humane way to do that and the cleanest way to do that is to choke the dog off.
Like
no, you're going to get the leash, you're going to get a belt, you're going to get a shoelace, anything that's going to literally cut off air supply to that dog, and you're going to hang the dog, and it's going to cut off its air supply, and after a bit of time, its brain is going to say, hey, you need oxygen more than you need the dog in your mouth, and it's going to spit the dog.
Is every dog different in terms of how long that takes for a dog to get
there? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So in terms of my dogs that I develop for the government, I kind of teach them to almost withstand that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Right? Because they do, a lot of government agencies will use what they call an operational choke-off, because they don't want the dog to have a very easy out, right? Mm-hmm. If they're going to apprehend someone, it needs to really hold on to that someone. So they will lift the dog off, but in my training, what I'll do with the dog is I'll lift, and then I'll let go, and I'll let them go back into the bite. Mm-hmm. So that to my dogs, they think, oh, that pressure, it means that they're going to let me go back into the bite even harder. So it can build a resistance to that a little bit.
It's kind of like a little biohack.
Yeah, well, kind of. You need to balance it out, because you also don't want the dog to think that any pressure around the neck means spit the guy out. Because what if the bad guy is wrestling and he's trying to push the dog away from the collar, and then the dog spits him out?
So military dogs essentially will only stop for a command, like a word command or a sound? How do they...
It depends on the agency.
Okay.
Like between Air Force and, like a state corrections agency, the police, like everyone has their own different policies.
Yeah.
I can only speak for some corrections agencies that I know, because they've told me what they do, and that's through what they call the operational lifting off of the dog, right?
Yeah. Because I guess my query is, like, imagine if, like, a dog didn't listen in that moment, and you're like, how do you do that?
Those dogs are trained to a level. If they're going to put a verbal out on the dog, they will do everything that they need to do to make sure that that's a solid out.
So, you see dogs in, like, movies, like Hollywood movies, you see those really well-trained dogs. Are they actually that well-trained, or is it the trick of the cinema a little bit? Or are there dogs out there who are so capable and can literally just be, like, little hero dogs in the movies?
Give me an example.
Like even like Red Dog or like Eight Paw Down.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, they're just.
What are they doing?
They're just like very like you could like they just like you can point someone they'll go over there, or you can like almost like look at you like you're talking to them, and they're like
yes.
Like they like have a little bit of personality to them, a little bit.
So I would say that,
and they actually genuinely care for their owner. Like they will literally like go out of their way to like help them and like fight for them, and it's almost like they're like a little fight companion, like a little Robin Batman situation.
Yeah, I get you. So definitely everything. I think there's going to be a bit of both in there, right?
Yeah.
So whenever like it's maybe a close up of the face and someone's talking to the dog and the dog's like, oh yeah, I understand, right? I think they're just filming the dog, and maybe it's a different audio track. Yeah. Because they're just like talking and they're trying to capture reactions, and then they match those reactions and put the actual audio track over. That's just what I would assume, right? But in terms of teaching the dog, you got to go over and open the door, you got to go over and bite this guy and then pick up the bag and give it back to the lady. Like, they're 100% all stuff that you can teach your dogs.
Yeah, because I've even seen a dog that can clean a house. Like a guy who's wearing a mop and like pick up all the toys, put it in the basket.
Yeah, well, like all that sort of stuff. They're like little tricks, 100%.
A border collie. I think it was a border collie. Some like lady. She's trained a dog and literally does all the housework. It's crazy. I was like, that's an amazing border collie.
I would hire it. Yeah, 100%.
But who needs Tesla when you've got how to bring out the Tesla robots? So,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, the dogs can do it. I don't know. And more organic. I don't know. More natural. So, what is your primary desire? Like, what is your goal in doing dog club? Like, what do you offer in terms of, like, besides the service, like, what's the philosophy around dog club? Why does someone come there in the first place, and what makes dog club?
Yeah, sure. Well, my philosophy at the start was to help people get what I couldn't get, right? And that was to, I went through a bit of a personal development journey, and we worked out that, I wanted to help people embody the qualities that it takes to handle these dogs in an appropriate way, so that the dogs actually understand and we actually get some progress here. The thing is that when you're trying to put boundaries on an animal, you can't fake it, because these are like purists in terms of understanding of whether you mean it or not, right? And I don't mean it or not as oh yeah, I'm going to come and give you a backhander if you don't. But when I say no, I don't want you to do that, like I actually have to, that has to be my boundary. I can't just pretend it's my boundary because you're a dog and you shouldn't do that. And dogs can read that especially. So that takes a lot of practice for people to feel and embody what they want to project to the animal, because it's a form of nonverbal communication. But it's also an art form of learning how to impose pressure on an animal. Because whenever there's a boundary, no matter what situation there is in the world, whenever there's a line in the sand, it has to be backed up with pressure. Like I'm not stepping back from here. And the skill set is to be able to do that with as low amount of pressure as possible in order to get what you need and not ruin any relationship. It's like negotiations, it's like diplomacy, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to maybe stray from what the modern day training is. And you encompass a lot of it because, like, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not against rewards or treats in training, but it's just like our kids in school has almost become like we're just out there bribing, constantly bribing, hoping that we're going to get better behavior.
It's like participation awards, eh?
Well, kind of, yeah. Like, and we're paying for a standard which is well below average, that doesn't really warrant any payment. And when you pay for shit, you get it in abundance. That's what I tell my students, right? So the skill in dog training is being able to know when to push the animal to be better, and how to actually withhold what once got them rewards and expect more for the same reward.
Yeah, because that was leading to I had a question around that. So, like, what's your take on, like, treat training versus, like, food training versus, what's it called? When you're like, oh, you're good dog, you know? Like, I guess praise training versus, like, no praise, no food. Just like, I'm your boss, you listen to me.
Yeah, so, like, the thing is, just like, if you look at coaching, right, because that's how I look at it, you're going to have coaches out there that are very soft, and yes, like, maybe they promote anything good. They always want to encourage and give positive reinforcement for everything that the kids do on the soccer pitch, for example, because I just come from soccer with my kid.
Yeah.
But then you also have a coach who's more of a disciplinarian, right? And then you have a coach who's a little bit of a hard ass, and, you know, not many of the players like that coach, and maybe they struggle to get the most out of the kids because there's a little bit of conflict in the relationship. The skill is to create a program that encompasses everything but pushes the subject to be better, because they need to push through their own self-limiting beliefs that, oh, maybe I'm tired and I don't want to run anymore. But no, I have to push you. I have to tell you to run more. I have to make you run more, but I have to show you what that kind of mindset and what that discipline can lead you to, which is all those rewarding experiences. And then you've got to create a program of how to build that subject so that you have your balances all in check, so that they always love the work that they're doing. And that's where we talk about our struggle to reward ratio. You have to have a little bit of struggle for a very high amount of reward. And then as the subject gets more addicted to or invested in the game or the training, then you can start getting them to do more and more.
So in your training, have you noticed certain dog breeds or just even dog personalities that you can tell straight away they're going to just, like, excel? Or, like, there are some dogs that are like, oh, here we go again. No, this is a dog, you know? This is trouble.
I think that...
like, is there a breed that, like, if you had to pick 3 top breeds that, you know, any average Australian could, like, actually train well, it's not too difficult, what would your top 3 breeds be, you reckon? Or are they all the same in your eyes?
Well, there's so many variables to that question. Is like, you know, what do you class as training well? You know, most people don't have the time to train a dog well.
Yeah.
To be totally honest.
Yeah, and that's what I felt, because I was going to say, one of the reasons I came here was like, and I found you, because I literally just looked on YouTube, that's how I found you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was putting so much energy into this dog. Like, I'm good because I work from home, so I got a bit more time than most people, right? So I'm around my dog a bit more than everyone else is. But it was all consuming. Like, it was like almost like, became my existence almost. Like, I was being obsessed by it. I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, a way out and that's how I found you. I was like, surely there's a guy like, Caesar Milan in Adelaide. Like, surely there's someone I found. I looked at, there was a few like websites, and yours seemed like the most like authentic. So I was like, that's how I found you. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to get that out there because that was like how if the Adelaide set audience is wondering why we're even talking, it's because I literally was like getting consumed by training. I had no idea what to do. I was like lost almost. So
Yeah, I think it's like the breed will give you ideas of traits that the dog will have. A German Shepherd is going to be high energy, right? As a rule of thumb, there's variances again in every breed. You have like a Mastiff breed, generally a little bit more chilled out and laid back. They're more of like a property guardian, so they just want to hang out and like, they'll have spikes of energy, but then they'll go sleep. So you need to really work with the clients. If like sometimes I help people find a dog for their family, then you need to actually work through like, what does your lifestyle really look like and what dog is going to fit into that lifestyle, because there's no point saying, oh, we're an active family, and I hear this all the time, we're an active family and we want to get that border collie that is good enough to be taught how to clean the house and do all these tricks, right? That's how much that dog needs to work, that the lady taught it to clean the house.
Yeah.
And you are an active family because you have kids sports 3 nights a week, Saturdays, Sundays, club soccer, all this sort of stuff. You're not an active family because you have hours a week to spend on dog training.
Yeah.
Right? So the dog doesn't just get to come along for the ride and everything works out. It doesn't work like that. So for most people, I'm like, you don't need a dog, you need a cat.
Yeah.
A cat can just sit at home and is like, maybe it gets a little bit of pleasure from seeing you, but mostly not, and it can look after itself, right?
It comes in and just annoys me.
Yeah, but if you want, if you want a dog, like it's going to take investment, no matter what dog you get, and that investment is going to vary, and like it would more so be the type of dog that most people need is a dog that you see is a little bit more reserved, a little bit more laid back. And you can see this in puppies. The one that's kind of, off to the side, not fazed by stuff, rather than most people were like, oh, but that puppy chose me. And that puppy was sitting there like, I'm bored out of my brain. Look, there's people here. Bang! And it gets all aroused. And they're like, oh, the puppy picked us. It's like, no, you just picked the worst puppy for your family.
Literally, that's so funny you said that, because literally the first time I picked my dog was a Spoodle.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there, and my intention was like, I'm gonna there's like 7 of them, or something like 6 of them, right? And I'm like, all of them are like running, like going crazy, like freaking losing their marbles. And there was like one dog, and he was like hiding. He was like running away from me.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I said, oh, that dog knows I'm trying to take him away from his mother. He must be the smart one.
Yeah.
So that's how I picked that one.
Yeah.
Because he was like no interested at all. He's like, I'm trying to hide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he must be smart. That was like how, as a kid, I took it.
Yeah.
So like kid intuition was like, oh, that must be the smart one. The rest of these guys are like, well, they must be dumb, because they like obviously don't understand what's about to happen to them.
Yeah.
And then we took it. That dog, that dog Leo didn't get trained as well, but for the lack of training that dog has had, he's probably been a really good dog.
Yep.
I think because naturally he just had that talent.
Yeah.
He seemed more intelligent. I believe. I don't know. It could just be, whispers here, but so that is an important thing. Like I wasn't just going crazy. So generally, you do want to choose the more calm, collected dog when you're looking at a litter, not the one that's just going crazy on you.
But then again, like this is why it always pays to go a few times to see the litter, because what you do is like, maybe they just all ate, and then you're like, oh, that one's calm. It's like usually that one's the psycho, but he just like beat everyone to the food and now he's full and he's having a nap. So sometimes they won't feed dogs before people come, and then the one that is generally more lazy seems more active because he hasn't eaten in a while, so he's running around and playing. So it really is a hard thing, and this is why it's very important to work with breeders who are ethical and not just wanting to get the dogs out of the home and legitimately will pair you with the dog that you need for your lifestyle.
So when I first came to you and I brought you my white Swiss Shepherd, were you like do you get many white Swiss Shepherds? Because like I don't really see them around, and I only saw it once in my life, and then I was like instantly loved because I thought it just looked the coolest I've ever seen. Like I thought it looked like a Pokemon. I know it sounds a bit strange, but and then I looked on YouTube. I found this video of this like lady called. She does like a whole blog about finding dog breeds, and I was kind of sold. I was like, okay, that's my new dog. Because Tay wanted to get a Chihuahua. I was like, no, I'm not getting a Chihuahua. And that kind of was what catalyzed me. I was like, no, we're not getting a Chihuahua. I'm gonna step on that thing accidentally or something. Like this thing is like I've seen Chihuahuas like I can't have a Chihuahua. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So that's how we got the White Swiss Shepherd.
Yep.
Do you think they're, because you told me they're a bit nervous and stuff, like, is that why?
I mean,
why did that happen? Like,
I've seen 4 in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Right? Hera is number 4.
Yeah.
And each one that I've seen has had somewhat of a nervy disposition, and like a nervy, not so much from twitchy nervy, but they're kind of a bit soft and a little bit whiny. And like, again, having a soft dog as a pet dog is not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather a soft dog. They're a lot easier. But sometimes that softer, thin
It's like they're
nerve,
sensitive almost.
yes,
It feels very sensitive.
yeah, that's right. It borderlines, because most of the Swiss Shepherds that I've seen out of the 4 have had similar traits, you know, and similar responses to things in the environment and how they kind of handle it. I don't know.
So the difference to the German Shepherd? Does the German Shepherd have similar traits like that?
Yeah, again, like there's variances. You think about how many dogs there are in each breed, right? You know, it's like saying, you know, you can't really say is like, I don't want to sound racial, but is one race only to its stereotypes? No, right? There's variances. The same is with dog breeds. The Swiss Shepherd, as far as I know, and I don't really research into the breed much, but from what it started was the white German Shepherd was a genetic flaw, right? So they didn't want to register those dogs as German Shepherds, so they created their own breed standard for the white German Shepherd, which then they started calling the Swiss White Shepherd. Now, I'm sure there'll be people out there who'll be like, no, the Swiss White Shepherd is its own breed and all that sort of stuff. But every breed has come from another breed because they all descend from wolves, right? So they use breeds to mix in to create new breeds and all that sort of stuff. So there is no such thing as a pedigree dog, essentially, because everything is crossbred.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, that's what I know about the Swiss White Shepherd. Whether or not it came back from the fact that there was a bit of a genetic flaw, and that was just the disposition. Maybe there was at one point in time, or in Europe there is very strong and confident ones. Maybe in Australia, but I haven't seen them.
Yeah, because I went back and watched that same video I did before I got the dog. And now, after 6 months seeing that video and watching the Shepherds, before I had no context to the Shepherd, now watching those Shepherds, I was like, wow, they share a lot of similarities in behaviour. Like, they sound the same, they kind of act the same, the way they move. Like, now I can pick up on the behaviours. Before I just didn't know because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
Now, after having one, particularly, like, yeah, they're all quite similar. They're unique but similar, very similar. Like, it's almost like they are stereotypical kind of dogs in a sense, which is kind of interesting. And look, and I think it's kind of a nice thing. Like, it's kind of cute because she gets scared. Like a balloon, for example, will scare the crap out of her, or a hairdryer will scare the crap out of her.
Yeah.
But then if I want to have like a little tussle with her, she'll go like nuts, like she's like an animal, like trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So she does have like this. There's like an animal side to her, but there's also like this, like almost like she's like a little scaredy cat at the same time.
And this is where, from a training point of view, like, you need to understand the dog as its own individual, and create a program around what do we need to boost in this dog. So like, maybe your dog needs a little bit help with her nerves. And like, nerves don't mean a bad thing in a dog. Like, I've got a Dutch Shepherd at the moment, Sien. She has nerves, but her nerves lead her to bite things, right? So nerves in an animal, and especially with working breeds, are kind of the things that push them to do the work that they were bred for. It's the nerves in an animal that will make them bark at someone at the gate, for example. And the difference is what the nerves will take, what sort of journey the behaviour will go on from that point.
Yeah.
All right, there's a pressure at the gate, I'm going to bark at the gate. What if now the person puts more pressure by coming into the gate? Is my nerves now going to make me run away, or is my nerves now going to make me go and bite that guy? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But for a dog that shows nerves more from maybe a bit of timidness and maybe lack of confidence, then you want to give it activities that are going to build its confidence. And this is why, again, with us humans, we send all our kids generally to martial arts, right? A lot of people do.
Yeah.
So that they can learn that, hey, I can actually empower this aggressive outlet so that I can defend myself if I need to, and I don't need my nerves to shut me down in that moment. I know how to deal with that, and I know how to control that part of me. So you can do that in a dog training program with the dog as well, to give it activities and stuff to take part in that are going to boost certain attributes. So yeah, 100%.
So there's people out there who are watching who have dogs maybe who have nervous issues or like bark at everything they see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, even to the extreme. Like, are there dogs that are too far gone? Like, you know, you told your story about how you had to put down Caesar in the end.
Yes.
Are there points where it's too far gone? Like, there's no help for a dog, or can any dog be saved? Can every dog meet Christ?
Yeah, well, that's
You know
exactly
what I mean?
right. The problem in this day and age is that meeting Christ is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And the way that I use that term now is like, let's say it's a potentially dangerous dog,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it wants to eat someone or kill another dog, and there's plenty of them around.
Yeah, I've seen them.
The thing is that, sure, we're going to put that dog into a training program. We're then going to try and boost the elements of the dog that needs to be boosted in order to make it not try and go down that path of wanting to kill another dog or bite a person. But at the end of the day, there is always punishment, right? Punishment will always be effective if it's done correctly, but punishment is distasteful in today's environment and almost classed as animal abuse, right? So I don't say that, I say that any dog has the potential to be fixed and saved, but there's too many contributing factors as to whether or not we're going to get the dog to that point. The owner itself might have a distaste for punishment because they subscribe to a more softer approach of dog training, and that's fine. Their dog, their choice. They have to live with the possibility that their dog is potentially dangerous, but they have to accept that and then put management practices in place to try and avoid risk at all cost. Some people were like, no, we see the greater good that if the dog has to have a punishment event and, can be a little bit unpleasant to a dog to go through that event, just like with us when we have a real shitty experience in our life that like alters our life from that day forward. You know, we can feel sick for days, like we're in a bit of turmoil there, but on the other side of it, with the appropriate coaching, we actually become stronger and better people from it. Right? Yeah. So those distasteful situations in our life are also important in order to push towards more exciting and rewarding experiences.
So that sounds like you're saying, because I will say, because Season Online does an episode of this German Shepherd and this lady,
mm-hmm.
and this lady was a wuss. Like, she was such a freaking wuss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she did not stand up for a dog. She did not tell the dog off. Her voice was weak. Her commands were weak. Like, everything about her was kind of weak, which led to her dog, this German Shepherd, becoming hyper aggressive and super protective of her.
Yep.
And Caesar, to help fix the dog, didn't actually have to fix the dog, had to fix her.
Yes.
So sent her off to martial arts, do boxing.
Yes, I think I've seen that.
I've seen that one. So I was like, oh, that really made me. I was like, oh shit, like maybe a lot of the dog's problems come from the owner as well. Like most of the time, must be the owner who's like behaving like soft, and then allowing the dog to get away with all this. Because like even now here, like she's always looking the way to be cheeky. Like she's never not giving me an inch not to be cheeky. Like she's just constantly trying. I mean, she's a kid, right?
Yeah.
She's only 7 months old, so I get it. She's a child. Like all kids are like that. So I'm like, okay, she must just be doing her adolescence thing. Hopefully, when she gets older, she'll chill out a bit. But
well, when you put the boundaries in place, right? They're opportunistic predators, right? So again, our kids also, they will get away with what they can. Right? They will only alter their behavior when they understand there's a line in the sand here. Like, that is no more, right? Or, sure, we can play fight. Yeah, we can have fun, but you're not to put your mouth on me, right? So you can set those boundaries. It's 100% about the handler / owner actually truly embodying that. And the thing is that it's not about like going to boxing so I can be like an egotistical maniac who like I asked you to do something and you didn't do it, so now I'm going to punch you. It's about like thinking about how I can embody that strength and that confidence that when I say it, I mean it, right? And there's a difference there. And what I say to my students also is like, I actually tell my students to go and watch gangster movies.
Really?
Right? Because
Scarface.
Well,
you
like
fucking cockroach.
Yeah, like Casino. One of my students watched her first movie was Casino. That's the first time she watched a gangster movie. But American Gangster, I love American Gangster with Denzel. like all these people where you watch them, it's not always the complete nutjob psycho. Look at Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, dead.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci in Casino, dead, right?
Yeah.
So it will serve a purpose until it doesn't work anymore, and that's not the best way to go. The one that always succeeds is what Robert De Niro in Casino, cool, calm, collected, right? So cool, calm, collected, but also it's a gangster mentality.
Stern.
When I say it, I mean it, and I will back it up to the last, right? And that's what you need to have with these animals, especially with more stronger dogs. And there's plenty of dogs out there that are strong hard asses, and they need that, because if they don't have it, they will take that position because they're the stronger one, then they're the strongest one, literally, mentally and physically, and they'll do what they want.
Yeah, there was a moment. So when I was 17 years old, my friend bought an Alaskan Malamute.
Oh yeah.
And that thing was, you're talking about strong dog. That thing was like an absolute animal. Like this dog, eventually they had to get rid of it because it was just going up biting people by the ear and like bleeding and blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But I literally had to sleep outside next to it for 2 weeks straight because it wouldn't stop howling at night. And the only way it stopped howling is if I was near it. So like, and it would bite every single person but me. And the only reason it didn't bite me was any time it tried to do anything, I was like, no, you're not. I was like going crazy, like I was a kid, right? So I was like, going absolutely bulletproof. You're not fucking attacking me. Like got crazy in the dog, and it like eventually. It took about a few days, but no, like I was like his best mate. Like he was not, but everyone else was like running. Like they would run. They see it run. So like I noticed like I had to win this dog over. I had to like be stronger than it essentially.
Well,
and I was commanding of it.
Your boundary was your boundary.
Yeah.
Everyone else ran. So he's like, I'll keep pushing them, right?
Yeah.
You know, so.
But it was bad because we did have to, they got rid of it. They had to send it to the farm. I mean, an actual farm, by the way.
Not the metaphorical farm that every dog goes to live out their life.
No, they actually sent it to a farm. His name was Malby, so my friend named it after Marlboro Golds because it was very similar at the time.
Okay.
It's a cute name, Malby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope she's alright now, or he, whatever. I forgot what it was, but
frolicking in the fields.
That was the first instance where I realised, because the only reason I read that is because I looked up Alaskan Malamutes in Alaska or whatever, and they used to train these things with clubs, dude. Like they were like this is there's no rules up there. Very old school like they would, because they were sled dogs.
Yep.
And they don't listen, like they're crazy like sled dogs, and they feed them like carcasses and stuff. So I was like, oh well, if these are like Alaskan like sled dogs, I need to treat it like a bit more like I have to tank it a bit more in terms of aggression and be a bit more confident in, and that worked. But I didn't realize that was for old dogs. I just thought it was that for that specific dog because it was behaving so badly all the time. So you're saying essentially old dogs kind of need, because you hear sometimes some owners, oh no, the dog just needs soft love.
No, well,
and she will listen.
Again,
is that right or
so
not?
like the thing is that these people with soft love and gentle parenting, they also don't understand that they still also have a line in the sand. They just have very relaxed boundaries. But the principles of there's going to be a moment where I say, no, you have to. Let's say, like you think about the most tree-hugging kind of parent, who's all about like, oh, he'll make his own decisions and he will learn and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not going to impose anything. They will still grab that kid by the shirt if it goes to run across the road.
Yeah.
And it just shows that that's your boundary. Everything else is open, but running across the road, you're going to grab that kid so he doesn't kill himself. Sure, 100%. I take the approach where I'd rather teach that kid earlier in the piece so we don't even have to get to that, right? So it's like I put my boundary a lot. No, if you're acting like an idiot while we're next to the road, then you could make the wrong decision to run across the road. So I go back to mindset. So to go back to what you said about like this soft love, no. It might have a softer approach, but the principles and the standard need to maintain the same. So we have dogs that come to us and they're very timid. We've had a few rescue dogs, for example, where they've been born in a junkyard and they've spent the first 8 months of their life, no human contact, just in this yard, 7 dogs. We've got this one dog at the moment, Maggie. She came in and she didn't want to walk. Right? She didn't want to really be close to anyone. And I still had to, in inverted commas, force her to do those things. But I did it gently. But at the end of the day, Maggie, like when we go for a walk, we're going for a walk. Like you laying down and kind of trying to back away from the walk is not going to be effective for you right now. I need to push you through your self-limiting beliefs. Because again, as a dog, if you can't walk around the block, how are you going to survive? So it's understanding the context of the pressure and the force in training, because people will say, well, you shouldn't force a dog to do anything it doesn't want to do. And I get that, but I'm not trying to force it into a furnace, right? I'm trying to force it to be a better animal, right? And it needs to be able to do the things that it needs to do to live. Otherwise, it's no life. Like, you may as well just go and put the dog down.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's that trauma that dog has experienced to like just not want to do dog things kind of thing.
Well, yeah, like we've had a few dogs like that, and each time over the years, like, no one gives you the answers to this. It's a practice, and this is why I say it's an art form. I've just gone with what I would feel is common sense and just what I kind of embody. And if I see an animal that is laying there, well, if we're connected through this leash and I'm walking this way, like, eventually you're going to walk. Like, you're not going to let me drag you 500 meters, right? And if we got to a certain amount of time, we're like, okay, well, I've got to change my tactic because this just isn't working. But I've never seen it not work, right? So a bit of pressure on that leash and like, no, like, we're walking and I'm being friendly to you and I'm not being an asshole. But at the end of the day, you got to learn, we got to walk, buddy. Right, so again, I had a client in today to do some handling training with a puppy. It was the puppy's first day and first walk. She took it on, and it's all clunky because the puppy wants to do puppy things. But the whole goal of the first walk was just for you two as a team to get around the block. Puppy doesn't need to walk nicely next to you, doesn't have to, it can sniff, it can do anything as long as we're making forward motion. And there was times where the puppy was like, no, I want to sit, I don't want to walk right now. And you have to use that leash gently and encouragingly and like, come on pup, we're going. Like, that's cool that you want to sit right now, but we're walking. And then after 2 or 3 minutes, the dog's like, okay, I get it. She's the one that I need to follow, otherwise the leash comes and it creates a bit of discomfort. I know how to avoid the discomfort, I just follow her. But it's not about ripping the puppy's head off with the leash because it's not walking. And this is where the skill comes. I think anything practiced to a level of artistry is really the practice of the application and the receiving of pressure.
So what are some things that you'd like, if you were speaking to potential clients out there who have dogs, what are some of the most common occurrences you notice in dogs that are having issues that you have seen most commonly, and how do you resolve them?
99.9% of dogs that come to us with problems are because there's been no standard set, right? Most people that come to us, and like, this is small business, biggest problem is obscurity. There's not enough people that know about us. Like, we're starting to capture them before they go elsewhere, but most people for the last 5 years have been to 2, 3, 4 other trainers. We've had people come to us that have had recommendations for euthanasia, they've had recommendations for medication, they've been to other trainers, they've tried stuff and it's just not worked. And the most common thing is that the dogs have never heard, no, we don't do that, you have to do this, right? And you can't have that without understanding the pressure game, which I call it, which is what I've spoken about a bit tonight, which is not so much based on the rewards. It's the pressure that I can put on the animal to adhere to a standard in order to get those rewards. And most dog training, especially in Adelaide that I can speak of, is too much about reward for everything and then expecting the dog to improve their own standard because they are so happy that you give them a good life and lots of rewards. And that's like me coming to you and saying, well, here's $500 for work I need you to do to me, but because you like me and I give you $500, you're going to do $1,000 worth of work. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about that literally is. We've had dogs that come to us and they look like they want to kill someone. They look like they want to
I was going to say, is there a limit you have with dogs? Like, is there a dog you would just say no to straight away? Is there ever a dog you said no to?
I've never said no to a dog.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's unique. Was there a dog that your heart was, or not your heart, your mind was like, oh, I probably shouldn't say no, but your heart was like, no, we're going to say yes regardless?
I definitely, not that I should say no. I feel nervous.
Yeah.
I feel nervous
but
with a lot of dogs.
Is there an excitement of a challenge? Or
I love it.
Do you like the challenge of it?
Well, I love it because I've grown to like the struggle.
Yeah.
And when I feel that nervousness in me, like this is why I even with my development dogs, like Sien, I went searching for a primal being more so than a pet dog, right? So dogs that make me nervous also make me excited.
So it's like the spirit of Caesar kind of sitting there going, like, this is like the way to kind of pay honor to Caesar by like helping these other dogs that were once Caesars and
Well, 100%, yeah, in a way. I
The
thought you were
legacy.
talking about Caesar Milan. I'm like, why am I honouring Caesar Milan? But then it clicked.
No, man, Caesar,
yeah, my
like,
dog Caesar.
You know,
yeah.
like your first
My
real,
first dog.
Like, you could say I don't know, you wouldn't say failure, but the first like hit of reality, like that fucking bang in the head, like oh shit, like
Yeah, well,
this is
look,
the dog I didn't want.
like-
Like this is like the thing that kind of anchors your philosophy of looking after other dogs moving forward.
you saw Wookie and
Wookie
the
was
video
cool.
that I made of Wookie.
Yeah.
He's probably a dog that I was like, can I really pull this off? And in most of the videos with Wookie, like I'm actually quite nervous because when you go into sessions like that, it's all about like again, the game is imposing the boundaries on these dogs that don't have boundaries and are making bad choices and dangerous choices.
Yeah.
And I need to tell you, Wookie, now that is not the right answer, and I need to kind of enforce that on you politely and gently in a way that is not going to get me bit.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, he in the first video of him, you can see him. He had a muzzle on.
The park.
At the park, you can see him actively lunging and charging up at me and trying to get to me. And then over time, like, you know, I can handle him, and he grew trust, and that was again not. I've given him a couple of sessions where we've done food, but I think maybe the first 4 or 5 private sessions we did with Wookie, there was not one treat. It was all pressure. Right, because like the dog wants to eat me, how is he going to take food out of my hand? Right,
Yeah.
so we're not even at that starting line yet.
Do you think the dog actually wants to eat you, or just wants to hurt you?
Well, I don't know if he wants to eat me as in to get my nutritional substance.
I know. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I'm a bit of a literal guy. Sometimes when you say that, I'm like, oh, does he actually?
No, like I say that figuratively, like
Okay,
he wants to chew on me, right?
I
He
don't
wants to
know if
bite
the dog
me.
actually wants to eat you.
No, well, I'm sure there could be some out there.
Maybe,
Like,
yeah.
only the dogs know, right? But that, like, Wookie is a situation where his nerves would push him into seriously hurting someone.
Okay.
Right? And that doesn't come from, but Wookie, I've got a treat. So just change your mindset around that. He needs to he needs to be led to understand that no, like that's not an option. That's off the table now. And you know, all the videos are on our YouTube, like, because I wanted to actually use that as a case study to show how I go about things.
Yeah.
And it was a good reinforcer to me to show that how I created my system, it actually does work. And yeah, it was all leash pressure. It's not, again, like we're swinging the dog around or
Clubbing it like a last
no, but it's like perfectly timed guiding pressure to block certain behaviors and push him into other certain behaviors. And we really had to move inch by inch with that. Because if there was any thought at the start with Wookie, if I was to take him away from his handler, he would then want to go me again. So we had to do work where the handler was walking with us, and then I'd be like, all right, you stay there. And then I'd take half a step, and he would come forward with me half a step. I'm like, haha, I just got you a half a step away from your handler, and you didn't try to eat me. And then we can build on that. So yeah, 100% Wookie was one of those dogs that I am getting better with him in terms of not feeling so much like he's going to eat me when I see him. But I always, even with my own dog, Sien, I feel very nervous because she attacked me when she was 4 months.
Oh, well, she was a puppy.
Yes.
Why? She just randomly.
She's got a problem with gum nuts.
Gum nuts.
Yes, right.
Like the slippery
little,
ones.
like little gum nuts under the tree on the sidewalk.
Yeah. She hates them.
Well, she kind of goes crazy for them, right?
She wants to eat them.
Yeah, she wants to eat all of them. So the problem with her is that, like, because she's again a very hard dog, and they're bred with high levels of prey.
What's the dog breed again?
A Dutch Shepherd.
Dutch Shepherd. Okay. Yeah.
So she's borderline psychotic.
Yeah.
And
She's Dutch.
Yeah.
Those Dutch people are crazy. Have you ever met a normal Dutch person? No, I don't think so.
So yeah, she was going for gum nuts, and the whole walk I was like, no, don't eat him. She's like, no, I'm going to eat him. I was like, no, don't eat him. She's like, no, I'm going to eat him. And got to the point where she turned around and like attacked me. And not like, oh, like it was serious. I had to, like, me and my apprentice at the time, we just looked at each other like,
well, she likes gum nuts.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? So, like, and then, like, her walking stopped at that point, and I had to, like, side quest and start building all this stuff.
So how'd you ease that attack in the first place? What was your, because people will probably want to know, how'd you stop her? Did you just eventually
I
calm down?
essentially just had to grab her flat collar. To start with, I was like kind of hanging her up by the leash, trying to, just immobilize her.
Tension on the neck kind of thing.
Well, a bit of tension, but that wasn't stopping her, right?
Yeah.
So I just had to like grab her because she was actually trying to lunge up. So
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's hard. Grabbed her in by the flat collar and just held her in a way, but she was still like scraping at my hands. I got pictures of all bruises down my arm and just kind of put her in a set.
doing this.
Oh yeah, she's the real deal, man. She bit 4 people the first week I had her.
Damn.
So she's what they call a civil dog.
Yeah,
Right?
very
Yeah.
civil.
Well, like civil in the dog world means that they're happy to bite civilians, right?
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
Right. So she you don't need to teach her to bite.
She's like a natural killer,
essentially
like a Bruce Lee dog.
Well, yeah. So this is with these dogs, you have to spend like the first 2 years of their life telling them what not to bite.
Okay.
And then there's other dogs that are very social that you're like, hey, you're social, but look at this power you possess. You can bite these things, right?
Yeah.
And you can get the work out of them. But anyway, the gum nut situation, we went on that side quest until like a couple of weeks ago. I went for another walk with her and I was like, stuff it, we're just going to go. Like I've been doing short little laps around the block. Yeah, cool, not bad. A few little hiccups here and there in terms of still trying to get gum nuts. Yeah. Nothing towards me. And then I was like, we're just going to go for a nice long walk. I took her for a long walk. And she was either loading or whatever. But then it got to a point where she's like, nah, I want the gum nuts now. And then she was trying to get them all. And any pressure that would tap on the leash, she would then turn and start snapping at me. Right? So I'm like walking... I'm probably 10 minutes away from my facility. It took me half an hour to get back.
Wow.
Because she was again getting in that crazy mindset where I felt unsafe. I was almost thinking to call my wife to come pick me up so I could just leave her staying still. But I ended up getting her back to the facility. And then I called one of my close training buddies and I was like, I think maybe I have to put her down. Right? Like, if she's that psycho, like what use is she to any government employee? And now we've decided we're going to actually create her punishment event around gum nuts. Like she has to know, like gum nuts are off now, off the table, right? And we're going to actually create our own podcast following kind of our training program and all the thought process that goes into one of these punishment events so that people can see that punishment is not the enemy here, right? And see how much work actually goes into planning and preparing the animal to have that learning experience, which is going to alter its life from that point forward.
Just giving us a sneak peek. So is that going to look like you getting a bunch of gum nuts and like leaving them in a pile, and then as soon as she tries to go, like a loud sound goes off or something like that? Is it going to be like kind of home game style?
In a nutshell, it's going to be like
nutshell.
Yeah, no pun intended. So it's actually going to be a little bit more like me going toe to toe with the dog over gum nuts.
Okay.
Right? With this type of dog, right?
And do you ever use other dogs to try and... You know how, like, sometimes you can use dogs... Like, you have, like, a group of 4 dogs to kind of alpha the one dog?
No, I don't need that. No. So the thing with her is that when she goes into this stupid, chaotic gum nut mind...
Kind of like she lost her... She's, like, losing herself with them.
Oh, yeah. She's losing her impulse... Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
right? And I regret calling her Sien the day that I picked her up. She's definitely lives up to her name.
Yeah, you manifested it.
Next time I'm calling a dog Fluffy or something like that.
Blessed.
So she goes crazy.
Yeah.
And then if I try to even just like the slightest bit of pressure on the leash, she turns and comes for me. So
she knows that you're the one putting the pressure on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's pretty smart. I didn't
and
realize.
it's a common thing in these kind of psycho dogs. It's called redirected aggression, right? Yeah. Because you're the one stopping me from getting what I want, so I need to take you out. So essentially, what we need to do is set up safely. We're going to have 2 linesmen. I'll be walking her normally, and someone will have a long line on a harness or maybe a flat collar, so that when we get to the point that she does go crazy over the gum nuts and she makes that wrong choice, the person holding the harness line will just post up, and then the dog will kind of be wedged in between both of us because I'll step forward, and then I will need to create pressure on that line until she decides to give up on the gum nuts. And that will be maybe a 10 to 15 second little experience for her, which is going to be a little bit unpleasant. But we need to do it safely in a way that she can't be lunging towards me, because right now if I put any pressure on that line, she just comes for me. She needs to know, A, gum nuts are off the table, and trying to get to the handler never leads me to success anymore. It actually leads me to a pretty shitty experience. So I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay, so you got like this, it's almost like a calculated, precise way of doing it. See, like, in my head, if I was to do something like this, I'd put like a bodysuit on, like a full like bodysuit.
Yeah, we've got the bite suits.
And just like a full like, so she can't get me at all. And like I'd get the gum nuts, and I'll like
be the gum nut dealer.
and then like she can't get the gum nuts, and then as soon as I'm like, no, you're not getting the gum nuts,
Yeah.
and then she'd try and bite me, because I'm wearing like the thing, she can't actually hurt me. So I just like I'd wrestle with her until she like eventually just gave up, and she's like, oh well, this impenetrable man will never like let me win
Until he's not wearing the impenetrable suit.
Yeah,
right?
but are they smart enough to figure that out?
Well, they can be equipment focused and understand, and this is why there's been thoughts, we've thrown ideas around. Do I walk her in a muzzle? Do I take care of it by myself with her in a muzzle? It's like, but what if she clicks on that it's the muzzle that's stopping her from being able to get to me? And then I walk her with the muzzle, and now I'm in a false sense of security. And then she's like, I don't have the muzzle on, and now I'm going to come and get
smart,
you.
Dude.
So
smart.
Well, it's all about actually understanding different variables that can lead to success and failure, and we want to make it as natural as possible. Like the only difference is the linesman, right? But everything else is normal. So she will just need to learn that when she makes a choice in her head to try and go for the handler or the gum nuts, that doesn't lead to pleasant experience, and then we'll be able to see that she's giving up on all of that stuff, and that will show us that her behavior has changed.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of prep work also to get the dog ready for that learning experience, because with this dog also, if I was to turn around like what most people on the other side of the spectrum say, like, oh, you know, you're just abusing the animal, or you're egotistical, or all that. If I came in heavy-handed with this dog, it's only going to push her to attack me more. That's throwing fuel on the fire to this dog. So you need to be skilled in your application of pressure. Like I said, even with Wookie, I need to enforce that boundary. I need to hold the line, but I need to do it in a way that we can still be friends here, and I'm not going to get into full-blown conflict.
Like diplomacy. And you got to finesse. Yeah, see, mine would just end in conflict. It would just be a constant battle between me being a puff man versus the gum nuts.
Yeah, that's right.
But yours more like kind of slowly 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. Because I feel like dogs are like kind of like people. Like they need to sleep on it, and they wake up a little bit different. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
She'll have that sick feeling in her stomach because she'll be like, "What the fuck just happened to me?" And like, what did my experience lead me to? And it's only her change in behaviour that will lead us to know if it was successful or not.
Yeah, okay. Well, before I let you go, I'll ask you one more question about just Dog Club and like where it's located, how do people find you, and you know, if I want to get some questions come through, I'm gonna ask some setters some questions. Maybe next time I get you back, I can like read out some questions from like the followers.
100%.
But yeah, like where are you located? Like, is there like a limit to how people can get to you, or are you open to everyone basically?
No, we're open to anyone. Like, we haven't met anyone that we can't help. We've only met owners that can't commit to what's needed to get what they want, right? So we are true dog trainers that will guarantee you to get you where you need to go, as long as you're willing to do the work with us, right? It's the most important part. We're located in St. Mary's. Our website is www.dogclubsa.com, and basically you can either send us an inquiry through the website or just book into an assessment. Everyone needs to do an assessment when they start with us, and that's where we really nut out, like, what is it that you really need, what do you really want, and how do we get you there based on your current lifestyle and time commitments and budgets and all that sort of stuff, right? So everything is tailored based on everyone that walks through that door, in order to create that success that they need so that they can be consistent.
Well, there you go, guys. And I just want to say thanks again, Daniel, for coming today. And I just thought I'd have Daniel here as a guest because this stuff is so fascinating to me, and I know it'll be fascinating to you guys, I hope, because yeah, like these little things translate to your whole life as well. Like the way you teach your dog, the way you know, look after your dog can translate to all aspects of your life. So I felt that deeply, and I was lost. So it's good to have someone like Daniel on team who can kind of point you in the right direction. So I think that's really important, and yeah, can I keep having you back, and you know, we'll not just talk about dog stuff. Maybe we can get to other things eventually, but
whatever.
You know, it'll be interesting because I think it all bleed into each other somehow. But yeah, thanks again, and yeah, if you have any questions, guys, leave them in the comments below, and we'll get to them. Thank you.
Thank you.